This is my TL1000R, and in the last video I did manage to get it running, but it wasn't running very well, had a bit of a misfire. Oh, did you hear that? There's a misfire. So today I'm going to dig deeper into that problem. I'm going to start by taking the tank off and having a look at the throttle position sensor, because thanks to the comments I know that it's not in the right place. I'm going to have a look at the throttle body balancing as well, the fuel pump relay, I know there's a problem with that, and I'm also going to take off the fuel pump and the fuel filter from inside the tank and have a look at those as well. And once I've done all that, I'm going to have a look at the injectors, because they could do with testing. So let's get cracking. Okay, skip forward a few minutes. I've got the bike in the workshop, got it on the paddock stand. I've taken the top half of the airbox off and obviously the tank. Now, I know someone's been in here before, and it's not someone that I want to have been in here before, because they didn't put half the screws back in for a start. There's supposed to be 7 screws holding in the bottom plate of where the air filter goes in, and there was 3. And, well, let me show you. Where these kind of trumpets attach, you see these screws? Can you see how mashed up the heads of them are? Because they haven't used the correct screwdriver to undo them. So I'm going to undo all 6 of those and get this off. Well, hopefully they'll undo and they're not too screwed up. I mean, that one came out all right, and so did that one. Anyway, waffling on, let's get this out. Now with those 6 bolts removed, I've now got to unplug a couple of sensors. There's, well, maybe not a couple, maybe there's just one. So I think we can just squeeze that in there. Yep, pull that off. This needs to come out of there. And this one needs to come off of here, like so. And hopefully this will now come off if I haven't missed anything. Oh, there's some vacuum pipes I need to disconnect from that last solenoid valve thing that I just showed you. Right, not come off now? No? What are you stuck on? Ah, it looks like there's some sort of hose connected to the bottom of it, and that needs to come off as well. I'm going to pull that off from the orange and black thing, and I'll get more into that later in the video, because there is a diagram attached to the airbox telling me what connects to where, and I don't think it's been connected up right, to be honest. Right, pop that on the table, keep that nice and safe. Okay, Nikki. Now whenever I do carburetors and I balance the carbs, obviously you balance the butterflies, and I'm pretty good at doing it by eye, and I can see and I can tell you now that these are nowhere near the same as each other. There's a much bigger gap in there than there is in that one. It might not look like it on the camera, but trust me, they're quite different. Let's do the throttle position sensor. First things first, I have to get this into dealer mode, and to do that, in this plug we need to link out the 2 wires, and as you can see it's a 4-wire plug, but there's only 2 wires going into it, so we need to link the 2 wires together. I have been using this earth cable, but from eBay I picked up this, which plugs into that, and it is an on-off switch, so I can actually leave this permanently connected under the seat, and next time I need to read the fault codes or anything like that, it will be much easier. There we go, installed, simple as that, and that can just live in there. I'll put a link to this in the description for you. So on this bike there's a fast idle adjuster, and it doesn't really seem to do anything. However, looking down here, it does operate the little lever as it should, but doesn't move the throttle position up and down. The lever goes round, but it doesn't lift up this. I think that might be because these are set too far open from standard. So if I, if I wind in the idle adjuster, wind out so that they are in their most closest positioned, most closed. I wonder if now that moves. It does. Well, it appears to. You see that? It moves it ever so slightly. It only needs to move it ever so slightly. However, without these being balanced, I think they had idle problems, so they've wound open that so that they're both kind of very open, deeming that completely useless. And all I need to do is balance those and everything will be good. Just to show you, with this completely wound out, you can see there it is not making any contact with the throttle debris. That pin is not touching that. And both these should be firmly closed, and you can blatantly see that they are not. So, right, okay, there we go. Like I said, I haven't adjusted those because I want to get the gauges on first to see how far out they are. Let's do the TPS, throttle position sensor, if I can find it. Right, it didn't take me long to find it. It's here, and you can see it's actually adjusted fully in one direction because they are slotted holes. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn the ignition on with the magic switch switched into dealer mode, and it will tell us the position of the throttle position sensor is wrong. I'll show you, one sec. Now I'll try my best to get this in the camera. The plastic on the dials is all kind of screwed up. Can you see this little line to the left of the C? Ignore the error codes, I've got a lot of stuff unplugged at the minute. Now that line needs to be in line with the top line of the C. And at the minute, as you can see, it is right at the top. So let's adjust the throttle position sensor so that that drops down to the right place. So I'm going to undo these two screws and just turn it ever so slightly. These are security kind of things, and I hope I've got a tool for them. I'll tell you now, this little kit here is the most used tool in my toolbox. This is actually a new one, a replacement, because I've got one that I keep in Cardiff and one that I keep here. And as you can see, I've got all the bits I need. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, not that one. Slightly smaller. What? Yes, that one. And it comes with this tiny little ratchet, which is just so handy for just undoing screws in awkward places. Okay, granted these aren't in awkward places, but I don't need to get a ratchet out because I've got this in the kit. Right, so they're loose, and as you can see I can now rotate that. I should be able to. Okay, turns out I can't. Let's undo it a little bit more. Okay, see? I can change the position of that. And if we go back up to the ignition, if I hold the camera there and show you, I'll twist the throttle position sensor. That line should move. Ah, right, so there's a massive delay. So there you go, it's at the top. So I'll move it down a little bit, wait for the delay. Oh, we've gone too far. Take it back a little bit. Okay, that is in the middle. So now I've got to carefully tighten the screws without it moving. And I'm going to do that, and then we can crack on with something else. Just to add to that, the correct way of doing this is to set the throttle position sensor so that it is showing the high bar, like so, and then very carefully rotate it down until the middle bar just about appears, and then that's in the correct position. Just like that. So now when I open the throttle, the line goes up, and when I let the throttle go and it closes again, the line goes back to the middle. Cool. Now there's no point in trying to balance the throttle bodies before I've taken the injectors out, which I am going to do because I want to test them. I want to make sure they're okay. Turns out, even though it's a V-twin, there's 4 injectors. I guess it's something to do with chucking more fuel in at higher revs to get more power. Something like that, because I know it rams more air in at higher revs, so sure, makes sense. Put more fuel in. So to do that, I'm going to undo these 4 screws, and this little kind of fuel manifold thing should come off in theory, and then I'm hoping the injectors will come out quite easily. We'll see. So I'll just show you these 4 screws that hold this little manifold in. I might have to disconnect a vacuum hose or 2, but I'll do that. Hopefully that will come off quite easily, and then I've got access to the injectors, which you can see these kind of pink things in here. Right, let's get them off and see where we're at. This screw's pretty rusty. I think some rain's got in there at some point. Trying not to drop these screws into the engine. That would be annoying, trying to fish them out. Right, there we go. All 4 of those screws out. Just going to pop off this vacuum line if it will come off, because it is, well, it goes down here somewhere. Get off. Will that now lift off? Well, the injectors are free from the engine, but it would seem that I can't take both sides out at once. I might have to undo these two screws here, or this big one here. What should we go for? I thought the injectors would come out the manifold. Do they not? Oh, there we go. You can wriggle it free. Awesome. And then unplug it from that cable there. Well, they don't look super clean, do they? Let's get it on the bench and have a closer inspection. Right, now with these on the bench, it's quite apparent that they're a bit grimy, so I'm going to give them a clean up before starting to work on them. I'm also going to get in here and give this a good kind of degrease as well, because everything's a bit minging. Obviously, before cleaning it up, I've packed all the holes with some blue paper, including the injector holes down there and the main throttle bodies. And I've done this because it is the correct practice, not so that I don't get moaned at by you lot. Don't forget that these are allocators. You've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they need to be plugged back in exactly the same orientation. So take lots of photos and then you can't get it wrong. The fueling system on anything should not look like this. Lovely. This is going to be easier to clean up if I take it apart first. So let's take off the electrical connectors by squeezing that and pulling. So these are quite tight and you really got to squeeze that down before they'll come off. Hence why I'm using pliers, because I couldn't actually do it with my fingers. Right, let's get the wiring loom out of the way. Now we can pop the injectors out, which they should just come out like that. And there's like an O-ring seal in there. Uno, duo, 3-0. Come on, there we go, 4-0. Cool. I'm just going to push them to one side and... right. This needs to come apart further because I really need to clean this out properly, I think. I'm going to take the air-activated solenoid thing off of there. Take that off of there. Undo those two bolts there. And that one, and then hopefully that should all be in many pieces. I've just tipped the remainder of the fuel out into here, and there's a lot of bits in it, which is very bad. Hopefully I can save these injectors, but maybe I can't. We'll see, we'll see. I'm just going to take this rubber seal off of this end and this rubber seal off of this end and put them in a safe place for now. This kind of red O-ring I'm going to leave on there, and you'll see why in a minute, because I'm going to connect a tube to it, hopefully. So I've made this action contraption adapter thing. So I've got a small tube wrapped with some insulation tape going into a bigger tube, with a cable tie around it, wrapped into some insulation tape into a bigger tube. And now that will go in the can of clutch and brake cleaner, and the other end will go onto there nicely. Magic. I've also noticed that there are two different part numbers to these injectors. I don't know if you can see that. It says 8243590 and this one says 7313590. So they're in the pairs. There's two of each. I'm going to have a look at the drawings from the service manual to figure out which one goes where, to be honest, because I did not realise they were different. I just assumed they were all the same. Dope! I'm going to test to see if the solenoid inside the injectors is working okay, and I'm going to do that by sticking 12 volts on these two pins, and I should hear a click as the solenoid activates. Got myself a little adjustable power supply here. Turn it on and set the knob to 12 volts, 11.9, near enough. And I grab my two prongs and touch them on those pins, trying not to touch them together. Okay, ready? Listen for a click. That one works. That one works. That one works. That one also works, but sounds different. It's got like a deeper click than the others. I don't know if that might suggest that it's faulty, or... don't know. I can just go by the fact that it is... oh! Sounds different now. Maybe that had an issue. Either way, they all seem to click, so let's try and clean them out now. To connect the electricity properly, I've actually made myself some cables. So these were old ones of these voltmeter things, and I've chopped the ends off and attached a couple of spade terminal things which will clip onto them nicely, and I'm just going to run some heat shrink over them to make sure that the two don't touch when they're both in there together. So with my power connected and my 12 volts on, click the relay open, I can now clean these out. So what I'm going to do is get some compressed air, spray it out this way, because they're tiny little holes in the end of there. Can you see them? Tiny little holes, and obviously I don't want to blow rubbish into them. Ooh, whoops. So blow them that way with it open. Now I can blow it that way with it open. Feels like the air's coming through nicely. So what I'm going to do now is get some carb cleaner with my little adapter tube. Put that on there and spray through. I'm making a right mess here. Oh, that's cold. Right, I'm going to make a better seal for this tube around that O-ring, and then hopefully that'll give it a bit more pressure to push through with. Right, I've wrapped some insulation tape around there to make the diameter bigger. So now hopefully when I spray this through, it'll actually spray through rather than just all over my hands. So turn my power back on, open up my solenoid. Oh yeah, that's a nice little mist. I just said that's pretty good. Yeah, awesome. Right, now to do the other three, and we'll be good to go. Ugh. Oh, that'll be the residue from the tape that's just come off there, so I'll have to clean all that off now. Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to do the other three. If I run into any issues or problems, I will let you know, but hopefully these will be all good to go. And there we go, 4 brilliantly cleaned injectors ready to go back in. And in case you were worried about that sticky residue gunk, I did go through and thoroughly clean it all off and clean them through again to make sure that they weren't now full of that residue stuff. So don't worry, all sorted and all clean. Right, now I just need to take this apart and clean all this out. I've loosened all the nuts and bolts. I'm just going to take them all out now and explode this like you would in an exploded diagram. Just like that. And all I've got to do now is clean all the individual components. I'm not going to attempt to take this apart or do anything more than just maybe blow some carb cleaner through it. Same with these, brush out the insides with carb cleaner and like a little brush thing or something, and just try and get as much of the grease off as I can. Now it's not, as you can see, too bad in there, but while we're at it, we might as well do it properly. And then once I've done that and they're all nice and clean, it can all just go back together, and assembly is reversal of removal, as you know. There we go, back together. I've left this loose and I've left this loose because I'm unsure of the positions that they were exactly in, because I didn't mark them because I'm an idiot. So I'll have to tighten them once it's back on the bike. Yeah, it doesn't look mint, but at least it's not covered in grease and grime anymore, and it's clean on the inside. That's the most important thing. Unbelievably, I managed to look back through the videos that I've been making whilst doing this, and I was able to just about make out the different part numbers on 3 of the injectors. Interestingly, you've got one partner on left and one part number on the right and one part number on the left. I thought there'd be one part number of each on each side, so I am going to cross-reference this and double-check the manual because I'm not convinced that that's actually right. They're probably the same part anyway. And for reference, the 731 part number is on this side, and the 824 number is on this side. So they're both 824 and these are both 731. Okay, there we go. I've kind of cleaned up in here a little bit. I've degreased it. It's better than it was. And now I need to connect my vacuum gauges. There is a port there, if you can see where I'm pointing on that throttle body, and there is one there, if you can see that on that throttle body. So they need to be connected. But before I do that, I need to have a look at the tank because, well, it's going to need fuel, isn't it, to do this? Before I forget, I do have a replacement fuel pump solenoid valve debris relay, whatever you want to call it, solenoid relay, fuel pump relay, that's it. So I'll replace this one because if you remember, it doesn't work very well, it gets very hot, and the connectors in it are kind of minging, whereas this nice replacement one I found, there we go, looks all good. So I'll clean out this plug a little bit as well because that is also a bit minging. And then, well, that'll be another job done. I just thought I'd show you the flappy SRAM air things working, right? So if I suck on this, they open, and when I let my vacuum go, they close again. So they seem to be working all right. Okay, the tank. Now, I have been very much warned about doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take this cover off here, which holds the fuel pump and filter. It's all kind of built into one mechanism. You'll see when I take it off. And the reason I've been warned is because it is a nightmare to get it to seal again. I have ordered a brand new genuine seal from Suzuki, but I don't have it yet. Maybe it's coming tomorrow. We'll see. You never know. I might be able to get it sealed with the old seal, but no, who am I kidding? That's just a terrible idea, but I'll probably end up trying it anyway because it's me. Anyway, the reason the tank's standing up like that as well and not laying on its back is because these videos are filmed over a course of a few days, and I left the tank upside down when I first took it off the bike to record this video, and petrol leaked out a little bit and it's damaged the paint, and I'm kind of sad about it. I'll show you. So as you can see, the paint is all kind of peeled right around the edge of the fuel filler cap. How annoying. Well, the paint on the bike wasn't perfect, but now it's even worse. Okay, so first up, I'm going to undo first up. Well, this isn't first up at all. This is one of the many things I've done in this video. Next up, I'm going to undo these 8 bolts and wriggle this thing off. Now, I believe these have a torque and probably a pattern to do them up with. So I'll undo them in some sort of order, so you don't end up with one that's way tighter than the others, because that can damage sealing faces. So I'll just do this until they're all out and out of my way. It'll be interesting to see inside here, and I've got a lot of comments of people saying, oh, I need to do that job. It'll be interesting to see you do it first. Well, here we go, folks. In all fairness, a replacement fuel filter is £138 for a genuine one. This whole thing is well over £1,000. So let's see if we can get away with not replacing too much of it. Uh-oh, this has been tampered with. I can't get it out. That's going to fall in the tank. Right, hold on. Let me show you what I'm seeing. Look at this green sealant that's all over my fingers now. Oh dear. This is going to be a world of pain. So inside there is a plastic sleeve that is kind of stuck. Oh, and I don't want to drop it into the tank because I will never get it out again. Oh, I need 2 hands. I can't do this whilst holding the camera. So you can see me drop this into the tank. Now I'm going to climb up onto the table. Right, here we go. Not surprised they say this is a horrible job. Okay. Ooh, there we go. Right. It is... Oh no, I'm dribbling fuel everywhere. Right, okay. Just look at how gross this is. What? It's just covered in some sort of really sticky silicone kind of sealant. Okay, here we are. Now, fortunately, I wasn't in danger of dropping this in the tank because it's been cable tied to it. And it looks like it's just some sort of protective sleeve cover that isn't fitted properly. And it's damaged. I don't know if that makes a difference to its performance or not, but it's supposed to be on there like that, I'd imagine. Okay, so this is the fuel pump filter assembly debris. I'm going to cut this cable tie off, pull this off, and then we can have a real good inspection of the whole thing. Snippy snip snip. What's behind door number 1? Oh, that's a bit rustier than I was expecting it to be. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the fuel filter itself. Well, we know this does work and we know it does pump fuel, but it doesn't look great, does it? It really doesn't. Look at this kind of white powderish all over it. Okay, stop moaning, Ashley, and just deal with it. Ideally, we want to replace this fuel filter, or at least flush it out, clean it out at the very least. Stop saying least. Waffling on. Okay, so we've got some electrical connector things there by the looks of things. Right. I'm going to try and get the fuel filter off, and then we'll have a look at the pump maybe. This is just a world of... Don't do this, Ashley. Right, I'm committed. I'm in. Let's do it. First up, let's try and undo this screw. Is that now free? Oh, there's a screw on both sides holding that. So let's take the other side out as well. Let's get the needle nose pliers and pop these fuel pipe clamp things off. Okie dokie. I guess try and yank it out. Oh yeah. Oh, and we're off. And that is dirty, dirty fuel that I'm just pouring out all over the workbench. Okay, let's get a pot. No, let's just pour it out. Fuel is not supposed to be that colour. That's not great, is it? It might be why it wasn't running very well, amongst other reasons. I might actually change this base sheet that I've got going on because, well, I'm just going to get covered in rubbish. Why don't I have gloves on? Again, put some gloves on. Right, I'm going to go wash my hands, put some gloves on, and then come back to this afterwards. Right, here we go. I've got some gloves on now, so everyone will be happy. I think this kind of shape here might be something to do with the OEM seal. I think maybe the seal goes either side of it. I'm going to see if it comes out. I'm just going to carefully see if... Yeah, look at that. So I think this might be some sort of sandwich plate. This might actually be the OEM seal. Look, it's got a rubber seal in it. Maybe that's why it was 50 quid. Next, I'm going to take off that screw, and I think there's one on the other side. No, yep, there's one there. And then that shielding kind of cover will come off, and then I can see inside better. Like I said, a replacement one of this whole thing is over £1,000, and it's not in stock. Excuse me. Just gotta be careful. Don't break it. Do not break it. As you can see, the fuel pump side of things isn't looking too great. Now we know the fuel pump was working, but perhaps it wasn't working very well. I don't know how serviceable it's going to be. Maybe it's just one of those things, if it works, it works. I'm a little bit disappointed about this design, to be honest, because the fuel filter doesn't filter the fuel before it goes into the pump. So it sucks, the pump sucks it up from the tank, runs through the fuel filter, and then goes into the engine. Now, if that was me, I'd design it in such a way that it ran through the filter before going through the pump. That way, it prolongs the life of the pump because, well, it stops the pump from sucking up a load of rubbish from the tank. Anyway, waffling on. Let's pop these, well, let's pop that fuel hose off and then pull that out of my way. I'm going to unplug this electrical connector because I feel like it's going to snap if I'm not careful. Now, it looks like there's some sort of gauze filter here to suck the fuel up before it goes into the pump, possibly. It doesn't look very OEM. It's almost like that's like crushed or squashed or something. Ba-da, 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 ba-da. So far, all these screws have come out quite nicely. And obviously I am using my JIS Japanese industry standard screwdriver as to not round off the heads to all these screws. Now all that comes off there quite nicely like that. And perhaps this now, I think it comes out with this kind of gauze filter that I was saying about a second ago. I'm going to take the rubber seal out the bottom, put that to one side. Ah, right, I've got it. So if I turn that enough that way, that will come out. I don't think this is supposed to look all crushed up and mangled like that, but at least that was doing something to stop dirty bits of rubbish from getting into the fuel pump. This is a completely sealed unit, so basically if it works, right? And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I guess I could try and take off this little, what looks to be a single-use circlip kind of thing, pop the filter bag off, maybe get a new one of these. I doubt it though, because I don't think the parts are sold individually. I think you have to buy the whole thing. Alright, I'm going to put it to one side for now. Maybe we can run some carb cleaner through it at the very least. Alright, this looks not too bad. It's obviously got this white, horrible fuel stuff on. I think the tank's been left empty for too long. And I'm going to get all this horrible sealant grease stuff off of it as well. Other than that, this doesn't actually look too bad. So I took off that, what I described as a single-use circlip thing, which turns out not to be a single-use circlip thing, provided you don't lose it, and I have lost it. So hopefully I can find it, well, I'm going to have to find a new one to put on it. Aha! There it is. Just there. Awesome. So with the little circlip thingy removed, this filter bag will now come off. And I'm wondering if I can get a new one of these. I'll see what I can find. So I went home and slept on it, and then I came back and made the executive decision to strip the entire thing down so I can clean it properly. I've blown this out with air, and let's face it, it's a terrible idea putting the same fuel filter back on, so that's going in the bin. I have bought a replacement. Now there is a modification you can do which involves putting an external fuel filter in, but I've managed to find an OEM Suzuki fuel filter, brand new. It's like £100, but I'm going to put it back in because I like OEM. It's, you know, like I said, the modification with the external fuel filter is probably a good idea, but I'm going to put a genuine one in and do it the genuine way. I've also managed to source and purchase a replacement fuel pump. It's not OEM, but it is a good reviewed aftermarket pump, because let's face it, look at the outside of this. The inside's not going to look that dissimilar really, is it? Okay, so I've got to wait for those parts to come. They'll be here next week, hopefully, and then I can put all this back together. I didn't record this because I was just going to kind of tell you I'd done it. Ignore the fact that that's ready to use antifreeze. This is Evaporust that I put in that container, and I was going to fill the tank up with it and just leave it over a couple of days, and I was just going to put the old seal back in, and I completely forgot to put the seal back in. So I put the blanking plate back on, and I made a couple of blanking plugs for the tubes coming out the bottom of it. And yeah, so obviously without the seal in, it just came straight out the bottom. Record everything, Ashley. Believe it or not, this is actually 20 minutes later, and I've put the old seal in and it's completely failed. I'm just hoping when the new seal arrives that I'll be able to get it to actually seal, and the gasket face itself hasn't warped. Right, I'm going to revisit this later and go home. Right, now I'm just going to have a quick look as to why this was leaking, and I'm praying that this lip here isn't like kind of warped and bent and damaged. So I'm going to get all this green gunk out, wash it, clean it, get it so it's kind of good sealing face, and then see where I'm at. In the process of cleaning this up, I've revealed the fact that this is not the original tank, and this used to be a yellow tank. So what a nice surprise that is. That might explain why the colour isn't quite the same as the side fairings. I've made a mistake.
but you might have already realised that. When I tried to put that on for getting the seal, I've ended up screwing all the bolts in too far and pushing the sealing face away from where the seal is supposed to go, bending it in numerous places. Let me show you. So these are blind holes, which means there's no through hole. The bolt, if you had a bolt that long, it wouldn't go through, it'd bottom out, which is what's happened. So when I tightened these screws in, when I put this plate on without the seal, which, let me show you, is, I've cleaned it up now, but as you can see, it's quite thick. It's got quite a thick steel plate. Now when I put this on here, right, hold on, let's turn the light on. Can you see? Right, that's the sealing face between the rubber and the metal there. I have indented that all the way around wherever there is a bolt. So can you see, this is no longer flat, which means the seal isn't going to sit against it. There's a gap there now. So what I'm going to have to try and do is bend this back up without damaging it further. Now, before you go into the comments section to tell me how much of an idiot I am, bear in mind I didn't have to tell you this. I didn't have to show you this, but I like to, because I'm the same as you. I make mistakes and I don't read the manual and I just crack on and do things willy-nilly. So partly these videos are so that you don't make the same mistakes that I make. But anyway, it is what it is. I think I can fix it, and it's going to be quite simple, really. So what I can do, I can get these pliers in here and grip onto the edge of that, and then just ever so gently bend it back up. So I'm going to very carefully go all the way around this and get it so that it is now, well, so it will be nice and straight again. Right, I'm going to just do this, take my time, no rush, so obviously I don't want to make it worse. Right, fast forward, and I've not done the best job in some places. However, I've raised it quite high, as you can see, and because of the way this lip seal works, I think it's actually going to produce a better seal with it like that than it did before. Obviously it was full of gunk before, and I really want to avoid having to fill it with gunk to get it to seal. So I'm going to go around this and try and make it a little bit more perfect. Well, a lot more perfect if I can, but if you look now, the seal is actually likely, or more likely, to seal. Okay, well, we'll find out, won't we? Right, I've put the fuel pump filter housing thing back on, and the seal. Wanted to show you the damage I did to the paint on the top of the tank. As you can see, it's pretty bad. Very annoying. This time, I've put a pot there so that I don't get vapor rust all over the worktop. Let's chuck it in and see if the seal is sealed or if it's completely lost cause. Hard to do with one hand. I should get the tripod, but I wanted to show you me filling it with evapor rust. I've put enough in to submerge the filter housing and pump housing. You can't see, hold on. Okay, that's the best shot I can get you. As you can see, the filter housing, pump housing, whatever you want to call it, is submerged in Rusto Stuffo, and by some sort of way of a miracle, from what I can see, the seal appears to be holding up. Happy days! That means when it comes to actually putting this back together properly, I've got a fighting chance. Right, it is literally 4 days later. I left that stuff in there for 4 days. However, I did water it down, so don't worry, it hasn't eaten through the tank entirely. But if you have a look at that, that is the most success I've ever had with trying to clean a tank out. So I'm very happy with that, and the seal didn't leak, so that was an added bonus. Right, let's get it all back together. And all the new parts have arrived. So I've got a new seal there, I've got a new fuel pump here and all the gubbins that go with the fuel pump to fit it, and a genuine OEM fuel filter as well. So all this can go back inside the tank. I've said it before and I will say it again, assembly is reversal of removal. So first off, I've put these two little, what I think are fuel level sensors on. I've reattached the wires and I've reattached this cable here. Next up, this little filter, well, it's not a filter, it's like a kind of tube thing, goes on there, like so, and then this little bracket keeps it in place. Et voila. Next up, this piece of tube can go back on there, and yes, I'm using brand new tube, like so. I've just noticed, looking back through my pictures, that I've attached the wrong wire to there. It's supposed to be the red one, not the black one, so I'm going to swap that over. There we go. I'm glad I noticed that, else that would have been disastrous. The new pump comes with a selection of filters, and the one I'm going to choose to use is this one because it fits the best. They also come with a new clip thing that I dropped on the floor earlier in the video. So I'll take the cover off the end and pop the filter on. There we go. And let's not forget this rubber cover that goes over the top there as well. Cool. Right, now that can go back in the assembly like so. And there we have the pump back in, not forgetting to connect the earth to there, put this clamp on here and that rubber seal in there. Obviously the electrical plug goes in there as well. Next thing to go on is this tube thing that I've put two brand new pieces of hose on. That goes on there like that. And there we have it with the filter back in and everything reattached. I've just got to put the cover back over and get this back in the tank. So this rubber sleeve, that's actually as far on as it goes. I am bottomed out, as you can see, the hose on the inside of that hole in there. I think it shrank. It didn't really want to fit around this very well, so I'm going to pop a cable tie back in there to hold it in place so it doesn't come off in the tank, and that's just going to have to do. It'll be fine though, because the fuel gets sucked in there and this sits that way up, so okay. There could well be a couple of comments in the comments section suggesting using a heat gun to heat it up to stretch it over. I tried that, didn't work. Okay, I've been round this and tried to make it as smooth as I possibly can in, well, the hope that I'm going to get a good seal again, because I had a good seal over the course of the weekend. With the old seal, I'm going to put a brand new seal on and hopefully that'll actually improve things. And yes, it is a genuine Suzuki seal, which also comes with a new set of bolts. I've checked the service manual and these bolts need to be tightened to 4 Newton meters in a particular order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I might do them up a little bit tighter, means I kind of naff the sealing face up, but I'll see how it feels. I've done them all up finger tight and now it's time to torque them. And 4 Newton meters is actually the lowest my torque wrench goes. Well, this small one that I've got anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know I said I was going to go a little bit tighter than 4, but I'm actually going to go with 4 and see if it leaks. And if it does leak, I'm going to go for 5. But hopefully it'll be alright. Okay, I have put just enough fuel in to cover the entirety of the seal. And now it's just a case of playing the waiting game to see if it leaks. I'm going to leave it for a good few hours just to be absolutely 100% sure. Before I put this back on the bike, I am going to pop off the tilt sensor and clean it out, because the one on my Hayabusa, which is exactly the same as this one, was full of rubbish and it didn't work too well. So I'm just going to give that a quick overhaul. So inside the tip over sensor is actually pretty, well, there's nothing wrong with it at all. There's hardly any dust in there. And it operates absolutely fine. I'm going to blow it out with the airline because there is a little bit of dirt in there, but that's about it. So I'll pop the cover back on and then that can just go back on the tank. And then the tank can go back on the bike. And I have some fantastic news. It's been a few hours and I don't appear to have any leaks. Dry as a bone. That's dry. Very dry. Okay, so the tank is back on. It doesn't appear to be leaking. There wasn't any fuel coming out the hoses when I connected those, so it might leak yet. I've connected up the vacuum gauges. They're on this side. You can't see them at the minute, but I will show you.
So I need to run the bike up to temperature, but before I do that, I need to put a bit more fuel in the tank, else it's just going to run out before it gets warm. So I'll do that, put some fuel in, and then hopefully it will start an idle at least to a certain degree, and then we'll start twiddling screws and getting it just sweet. I also need to check the throttle position sensor is still okay with the engine running, because I did it with the engine not running, and I'm not sure if you're supposed to do it with the engine running or not engine running, but anyway, whatever. Let's get some fuel in, and then we can at least try and get this started, see what happens. Fingers crossed. All luck is lost. That's what my friends used to say at school. Fingers crossed, all luck is lost. Do a quick sound check. I'm not convinced I've got the microphones set up anymore. They're not working as well as they were before. I'm not sure what I've done, but sometimes it sounds a bit distorted when I'm editing the video. Let's see how it goes with this. Gluggity gluggity glug. Shall I chuck it all in? Probably best not actually, because if I have to take the tank off for whatever reason, which might be easier to take the tank off when I'm putting the airbox back together, then the less fuel in it the better. Because the less fuel in it, the less fuel can come out of it. Right. Let's see if she starts. Can't remember if earlier in the video or not I put the new fuel pump relay on. If I did, you'll have seen that. If not, I've put a replacement fuel pump relay on. So that doesn't need to be a worry anymore. Right. Did you hear the fuel pump prime just then? I did it again. Does that sound right? You're going to have to do it a few times to get the fuel in, because obviously the fuel pump and fuel system is completely empty. I can hear fuel literally flowing around those lines. That's so cool. I should probably get a torch and check to see if it's coming out anywhere. Okay. Well, it doesn't appear to be leaking, and oh yeah, it's definitely submerged. Alright, one thing left to do is press that starter button. Wish me luck. Good luck! Sounds a little bit lumpy, doesn't it? We'll let it warm up for a minute and then we'll start making some adjustments. Cut to when it's warmed up. The first screw I'm going to adjust is this one, and that is the fast idle adjuster. So hopefully when I move the fast idle lever, I can get it so that it actually does something, because if you can see, it moves its little rocker, but it doesn't actually move the throttle position. So let's get that sorted first. Now, I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, but this nut is completely loose. So it might help if I tighten that up for a start. And then I'm going to adjust this screw. Tighten this up for a start. I'll go get a little spanner. 10mm is it? Yes. Let's get that on there. Excellent. Alright, that's half the job done. Now I just need to get my flathead in here and just adjust this a little bit. Alright, you see it slightly moved then? Now if I pull the lever, do I get movement here? Yes! And that's probably the right amount of movement. You don't want it to move too much, but enough just to open the throttle a little bit so you can increase the idle speed. Okay, cool. Right, let's get the engine running again and see if that's helped. Wait, ready, bang. Okay, I think we're in business. The adjustments I just made to that definitely made a massive improvement. So next up, if you can hear me. Oh, it just died. Oh, it might have run out of fuel. Yeah, there's not much in there. Okay, I'll put some more fuel in it. Oh yeah, look at the little light flashing away. Flashing, flickering. We've got no error codes, which is good. However, the throttle position sensor has dropped down to the lower mark because I've obviously just adjusted the throttle position on those screws. Because what I did, and I did this off camera, it was a bit naughty, I wound this a little bit to increase the throttle position, and now it's knocked off the throttle position sensor. So it's a bit tricky. I think you have to do the throttle position sensor and then balance the throttle bodies and then do it again, and it's all a little bit. I'm sure there's a proper procedure for this, but I'll get there in the end. So I'm having a bit of a mare with this at the minute. I had it running and then it coughed and spluttered. I was adjusting the screw and it went bang, and I'm not really sure what's going on. So where's my screwdriver? I think I've adjusted the throttles way wrong. Watch this. That's not sounding too good, is it? What I'm going to do is adjust the throttle balancing screw just to turn in whilst it's not running, because it just isn't right, is it? That's worse. Let's try half a turn the other way. That's a bit better. Still making that idling incredibly high. I can hear a police siren. I hope they're not come to find me. Definitely need to reduce that idle, which might be that fast idle screw adjuster. Maybe I've just adjusted it a little bit too far. The idle, well, you can't see, but it's like running at like 3,000 RPM, which is 2,000 RPM too high. Tell you what, I'm actually going to unscrew that fast idle adjuster so that the fast idle goes back to not doing anything, and I'll use the little twiddly one on the other side. I think that's a safer solution. I also plugged the TRE back in because I couldn't get it to start, but now I'm going to see if it will start without it, because I'm not a big fan of having it in there, if I'm being honest. So in case you missed the previous episodes, this is an STRE valve. I think the S stands for Suzuki valve thing. It basically gives the bike full power in first, second and third, whereas from the factory it's reduced a little bit to stop it from being quite so leery. Okay, right, I'm going to put it on the bench for now, see if it'll start up again. I really don't like this massive misfiring. It's like the timing's off, which is bad. But it wasn't doing this before I started adjusting stuff, so I think it's probably something I've done. I'm not getting any error codes or anything like that, so... Right, how do I get the idle speed back down? Because it's almost as if one cylinder isn't firing. Right, I'm going to wind that in and see what happens now. See, look, now it doesn't want to start at all. Oh, I did just unplug that TRE thing. Don't tell me it needs the TRE to run. Maybe that's why it had the TRE in there in the first place. This is proving to be quite taxing. I've got a little jump box on the side as well because the battery was going flat. Okay, I can see explosions coming out of the rear cylinder. throttle body. That's not good. Why are you sploding? Don't tell me I've got a stuck valve. I'm going to pull the plugs. I'm not going to pull the plugs. I'm going to pull the leads off the plugs. Open the throttle and see if I can see the valves operating when it's turning over. Okay, I've unplugged both the coils to stop this from sparking, so hopefully I can turn it over with the throttle wide open and see if those valves are opening and closing as they should. Right, those two are definitely going up and down. And those two are as well. These are aftermarket coils, as you can see by the shield with the H in it. I'll plug them back in. Here are the vacuum gauges connected up to the two cylinders via the vacuum ports under there. I've just taken my vacuum gauges off and put the plugs back on the vacuum port holes. I'm wondering if it just wasn't a very good connection or if there's something wrong with my gauges, so let's see if that actually helps. Don't think it helped. Don't know. It's late. This thing is making shotgun sounds and I can't continue to try and tweak things without it going bang, 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 and I don't want to upset anyone, to be honest. So I am actually going to have to give this a rest and revisit this another day. Never put something back together the way it came apart. Always check the manual, and I completely forgot about the injectors. Do you remember the part numbers? I said the left cylinder, or the front cylinder, had different part numbers to the rear cylinder, and I'm pretty sure, thinking about it now, there should be one of each in each cylinder. It makes no sense that they're different part numbers. So I think this back cylinder is getting way too much fuel and it's just exploding on the hot exhaust once the engine gets hot. That's my theory. And now, if I start it, oh hold on, I've got to squeeze the clutch in. Press it on. It idles absolutely lovely. And I've managed to balance the two carburetors by adjusting the balance screw there, and they're both pretty much bang on now. So still not running 100% right, because now well, basically what I did, I unplugged one of the injectors to stop like too much fuel going into that cylinder. So I've got to look at that. I'm going to go home, I'm going to read the service manual and figure out what's going on. Just quickly, it is the next day, it's the morning after, hence why I've got a tuft in my hair. And I think I know what's going on with it. I don't think it's the injector issue, I think that's a red herring. I've come in this morning, it's nice and cold, well the engine was cold. I started up, I've made more tweaks, I've got the idle just about right at 1200 RPM, I've got the fast idle set to about 2,500 RPM. It's a bit lumpy, but I think what the issue is that the rectifier regulator isn't rectifying or regulating very well. The battery's only reading 12.5 volts when the engine's running. It should be like 14. So I think I might order a replacement rectifier regulator and get that on there, because at the end of the day, if the voltage drops too low, it's not going to be able to produce a spark, which is why the fuel going into one of the cylinders is actually exploding on the hot exhaust. Not so much the spark created, because I don't think the sparks may be strong enough or frequent enough for it to ignite it properly, because it's not getting enough voltage. And just to show you it idling nicely, yeah, 12 RPM, 99 degrees, so it's up to temperature. Is it 99, 98? It's not making any banging noises now. So it's running really sweet at the minute because I left the battery on charge overnight. So once the battery drops, it will start popping and banging because this isn't working. So I'll get another one ordered for the next video. This also explains why in the last video it was misfiring whilst I was riding it, and that's because at the higher RPMs it just couldn't produce enough voltage to make the spark, to make it go bang bang, to make it go whoop whoop woo. So the unburnt fuel was just getting ignited by the hot exhaust. Just to summarise, you adjust this screw on the front throttle body for the fast idle, this one to adjust the balance between the two throttle bodies, this one is a stop, and on the other side this is the throttle position sensor, which you loosen the screws and you adjust the position of that once you're happy with the idle. This little knob on here you can adjust the idle with for some reason, as well as that screw there, and obviously this thing here. So I don't know why it's got so many different adjustments on the idle, I don't know, but that's the way it is. You can also adjust the position of the fast idle lever from this connection here, and you can adjust the position of the throttle cables on here. So I'm happy with the engine running, idling, revving. It seems to be all good under here now, so I'm going to put the airbox and stuff back on there, drop the tank down, and then hopefully I won't need to lift it up again. I wanted to let you know that I went through the vacuum lines as well, and this is a boost sensor which wasn't plugged in, and this lead here goes onto the over tank valve things, which were obviously disconnected because that went to the boost thing, which obviously wouldn't have then allowed them to open. So, and I've been through this whole thing. This is a one-way valve, so I'll blow through one side and you can't blow through the other side, so that works. I've been through and made sure that all the vacuum connections are in the right places, because there is a very handy diagram on top of the airbox, as you can see here. And like I said, I've made sure that everything is connected as it should be in the right orientation. It wasn't, but it is now. When I put the airbox back on, I need to remember to put the air pressure sensor, I think that is, back in, and obviously connect up the hoses and everything to the bottom of it. So all that's left to do is fit the rectifier regulator when that arrives and, well, put the fairings back on. I do now remember that the indicators are all kind of snapped off at the front and the brackets are broken, so I'm going to have to come up with a way of doing that. But other than that, she's actually running pretty sweet. And I went back in there and readjusted the throttle position sensor once I'd done a little bit more fettling on balancing the throttle bodies. So it's actually running pretty sweet now. I'll show you. Engine's cold. How can I prove that? There you go. My hand is right on the exhaust manifold there. Open up the fast idle. Purring like a kitten. Listen to that. I'm very, very happy with that now. So, basically, yeah, like I said, pop the fairings on and the bike is ready to go for its MOT. And in the next video, hopefully, I should be able to take it for a nice ride for you. So thank you very much for watching. This is probably about the 6th or 7th time I've been finishing this video because the bike keeps fighting me. And I keep being like, right, that's the end of the video, I'm done. So I'm like, thanks very much for watching. So I could show you those outtakes at some point in the future maybe. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and I will catch you next time. Cheers.
Never